In the opening scene, we see volunteers together with a group of rescuers searching the forest for a missing couple, Simon and Carrie. No one yet knows what horrifying secret this place holds. That same night, terrible metamorphoses begin to occur with two search dogs that drank water from an underground cave. The animals quite literally fuse together, becoming a single whole. Tim Brassington and his girlfriend Millie Wilson are throwing a farewell party for their friends. Millie has been offered a job as an English teacher at a primary school, so they are moving away. The couple is currently going through a difficult period in their relationship, but the woman believes that with the move, everything will fall into place. Tim is a musician, and Millie's brother, Luke, suggests that he go on tour with their band. They happen to need a guitarist. Tim would be happy to do so and plans to ask his girlfriend whether she would mind. Soon the couple raises a toast in front of all their friends. They will now be living several hours' drive from here, but Tim says that he is still glad for the change, because it is exactly what Millie wanted. He is looking forward to the next stage of their relationship. Thinking that this is the perfect moment, she proposes to her boyfriend right in front of their astonished friends. Caught off guard, Tim hesitates and delays his answer, putting Millie in an awkward position. Before going to bed, they have an honest conversation. The woman says that perhaps it would be better for them to break up right now, because later it will hurt even more. Ever since Tim's parents passed away, he has grown distant from her. He assures Millie that he loves her and promises that everything will work out, that they will get through this together. Tim continues to be tormented by nightmares connected to his parents, even after the move. Millie, on the contrary, is full of optimism, believing that a change of scenery will benefit their relationship. While they are unpacking, Tim notices a strange smell. He goes up to the second floor, unscrews the chandelier and discovers rat carcasses in the ceiling. Tim throws them into the forest. Millie asks how he knew where to look. He does not answer. Today is Millie's first day as a teacher in her new position, and she is very nervous. Another teacher, an elderly woman named Carol, is outraged that the new colleague took her tea. Embarrassed, Millie says that she thought it was shared. Jamie McCabe, the history teacher, steps in and stands up for Millie. He has read her resume and was surprised that she agreed to work in such a remote place. Millie explains that she is tired of the hustle and bustle of the city. Here, she hopes to find an individual approach to each student. Jamie jokes that he has already forgotten what dedication looks like. It turns out that Millie and Jamie are neighbors. He kindly offers to show her and her boyfriend all the beautiful spots around. There really is plenty to see in the area. Besides, the town is small, and there is not much entertainment. On Thursday, Tim plans to go to rehearsal and asks Millie to drive him. However, she can only take him as far as the station. The woman suggests that they go to the bedroom together, but he refuses, saying he needs to work. Millie is genuinely worried that they have not been close as a couple for many months. The next day the couple goes for a walk in the nearby forest. They do not immediately realize that they are lost. A heavy downpour begins. Tim tries to orient himself using the phone's compass to figure out which way to go, when he suddenly slips and falls into a hole in the ground, barely managing to grab onto the edge. Millie tries to pull him out, but instead Tim drags her down with him, and they both fall, ending up in an underground cave. The only thing the man is concerned about is that he has lost his phone with his demos. He does not even ask whether Millie is alright, which upsets her. There is no mobile signal. The couple looks around. It seems that this is not just a cave, since there is a gigantic metal bell here and something resembling church pews. Tim suggests waiting out the downpour and lighting a fire, which they do. Millie mentions that she is very thirsty. They do not have much water with them. Tim takes out a bottle of wine that he brought from home and is about to try the cave water. Millie does not think it is a good idea, but Tim drinks anyway, and after making sure the water is clean, fills the bottle. They sip wine by the fire and confess to each other that shortly before the move, they both started smoking again. But they promise themselves to quit as soon as they get out. Millie cannot get yesterday's discovery in the ceiling out of her head. Tim says that he had already encountered something like this in childhood, when his father scolded him for the unpleasant smell in his room and made him clean up. This went on day after day, until the source of the smell was finally discovered, a dead rat. Since then, Tim can never mistake that stench for anything else. He also shares his nightmares about his parents, which have tormented him ever since their deaths. First, Tim's father passed away. His mother could not live without her other half and very soon followed him. Tim still cannot come to terms with it. In the middle of the night, he wakes up to heavy, rapid breathing coming from everywhere at once, as if the very walls of the cave are breathing. There is clearly something wrong with this place. Millie wakes Tim up, joking that only he could fall asleep in a wet cave. By then it is already dawn. The woman's phone has also gotten wet, but that no longer matters. The couple just wants to go home. As they try to get up, they discover that their legs are partially stuck together. Millie is baffled by what it is. Tim suggests that it might be some kind of mold. When through pain, they manage to separate, they hurry out of the cave. The couple decides not to attach any importance to this strange incident. It seems that the shared adventure allowed them to relax and leave the negativity behind. But the idyll does not last long. Tim begins to notice that he is becoming physically drawn to Millie. And this is not a metaphor, it is literal. The woman remarks that he looks unwell and decides to go into town for groceries without him. But as soon as she drives a short distance away, Tim has a seizure. And the farther she gets from him, the stronger the attack becomes. When he comes to his senses, Tim's first step is to see a doctor, who suggests that these are panic attacks, especially given that he has had them before and that his mother suffered from a mental disorder. But Tim knows for certain that this is not the same thing. The doctor insists that the change of scenery and the inability to talk to any of his friends who remained where he used to live could have caused anxiety that escalated into physical panic, and prescribes a sedative. The doctor also mentions that a married couple recently went missing nearby. This is the biggest news in this small town in recent times. They were searched for by the entire town, but never found. At home, Tim searches the internet for information about the missing couple, then looks through their social media, and asks Millie to delete all of his accounts in case he dies. It would be sad, he says, if people remembered you only by your last post with some stupid, banal caption. Suddenly there is a knock at the door. It is Jamie, who has come to welcome his new neighbors and present them with a bottle of wine. The couple invites him inside. Over wine, they chat all evening. Tim tells Jamie about his adventure with Millie in the underground cave. That place reminded him of some kind of cult. Jamie mentions that long ago there used to be a chapel there, but it collapsed. Casual small talk threatens to turn into a conflict between the couple when Tim voices his dissatisfaction with the fact that he constantly has to adjust to Millie's schedule, since he does not have a driver's license. When the guest leaves, Tim begins to make sarcastic remarks about how Jamie clearly likes Millie, when he suddenly starts feeling that unbearable pull toward her again. This irritates the woman because Tim's antics are causing her physical pain. He tries to explain that something has been happening to him since their move, but Millie does not want to listen, considering it nothing more than an excuse. The situation escalates when during the night, their bodies once again begin to stick together in an inexplicable way. Millie, terrified to death, barely manages to separate herself. In the morning, Tim is getting ready to go to rehearsal in the city and expects his girlfriend to drive him to the station. She, however, thinks that he should stay and tries to discuss what happened during the night. But Tim stubbornly denies that anything is wrong and asks her to just drive him, otherwise he will be late. At the station, Millie suggests that Tim stay in the city overnight and get a bit of a distraction. Perhaps it would be good for them to spend at least some time apart. In the end, Tim agrees with her. But as soon as Millie drives away in her car, he has another one of those strange attacks, and the pills do not help at all. The farther Tim's girlfriend is from him, the worse he feels. While the unsuspecting Millie is at school, the man drops his belongings at the station and heads toward her. Suddenly she notices that one of her students has drawn dogs stuck together. Meanwhile, Tim, suffering from unbearable aching pain, keeps moving in the direction of the school. Millie calls her friend Kath and shares the strange changes in Tim's behavior. She had thought that quiet rural life would have a positive effect on their relationship, but so far the situation has only continued to worsen. Kath believes that Millie deserves better. Tim is already 35, and he still believes he will become a rock star. After 10 years together, he still has not proposed to her. Why should anything change now? These words make Millie think, but the very next second she sees Tim outside the window, and confused, rushes toward him. He looks terrible and is delirious, repeating that he had to see her immediately. Millie takes him to the restroom, pleased that passion has finally returned to their relationship. When everything is over, they end up stuck together, and separating takes enormous effort and pain. Jamie becomes a witness to this, which fills Millie with horror and embarrassment. She hurriedly cleans herself up and then makes a scene with Tim. Because of him, she could lose her job, or worse. The man tries to explain that he did not mean any of this and that he seems to be unwell. But Millie is already exhausted by it all. If Tim is so unhappy here, why does he not just leave? Unlike him, the woman cannot afford to spend her whole life chasing unattainable dreams. She feels not like his partner, but like his mother. Trying to make things right, Millie goes over to Jamie's place and apologizes for what happened today. She is terribly ashamed. Jamie assures her that everything is fine and, seeing the woman's condition, invites her inside and offers her some water. Millie shares her difficulties in her relationship with Tim. Maybe this has not been love for a long time, but just habit? At the same time, she drinks the water without a second thought. Jamie tells her an ancient Greek myth, which says that originally people had 4 arms, 4 legs and 2 heads. But Zeus feared their strength and split them into 2 halves, condemning people to search for their other half for the rest of their lives. Millie asks Jamie whether he lives here alone. The man replies that he bought this house with his partner, but later fate alas separated them. Jamie still suffers. He offers to show Millie a video recording of their wedding. At that moment she sees Tim outside the window looking lost, and hurries away. Again and again, he asks her for forgiveness, saying that he did not know where else to go. Then Tim takes Millie by the hand, despite her reluctance to be with him. At night when the woman falls asleep, he once again looks through Carrie and Simon's social media pages and discovers something disturbing. Shortly before their disappearance, they had visited the same cave. At that moment the internet goes out. Tim falls off his chair when Millie crashes into the door of the room in a state that is either a seizure or sleepwalking. She lunges at him. When Tim brings her to her senses with a slap, she is disoriented and remembers nothing. Together they try to understand what is happening. The man suggests that after they visited that cave, something began to happen to him. And now it seems, it has spread to Millie as well. Tim tries to convince his girlfriend that their bodies are sticking together and that the same fate befell the missing couple. But to the woman it sounds like nonsense, and she decides to sleep separately, until she realizes that it is hard for her to move far enough away from Tim. At dawn, he plans to go to that cave in search of answers. Millie only says that her parents will arrive on Sunday and that it would be better if he were not present. Tonight the couple goes to sleep in separate rooms. However, during the night their bodies are drawn to each other on their own. Tim tries with all his strength to resist, but in vain. The same happens to Millie's body, although she struggles with all her might. Their hands inevitably fuse together. Thinking that Tim's medication might help stop further merging, they reach for the pill bottle and take as much as they can. In the end they lose consciousness. Tim comes to on a chair, tied up. Millie wanted to make it in time before he woke up. The man is horrified when he sees the saw and begs her to stop. But she knows that afterward it will be too late. When the medicine wears off, the merging will continue again. They have neither time nor a choice. When they separate, Millie insists that they need to go to the hospital immediately. Tim says that it will not help, they need answers. The woman realizes that she left her car keys at Jamie's place and goes to get them, while Tim decides to stay behind, arguing that for now they should keep their distance from each other. But as soon as Millie leaves, he returns to the cave. At Jamie's house, the woman does not find him, but she does find a recording of a wedding between two men. Tim sees frescoes on the walls depicting the merging of two people into a single being. The wedding on the recording turns into a sinister merging ritual. At that moment Jamie appears, and he himself is the result of that fusion. He says that it was the best day of his life and that it is the highest gift. It is a bond deeper than anyone could imagine. In the cave Tim, glued to the floor by a strange substance, desperately tries to crawl away from the horrifying creature, the result of Simon and Carrie's merger. Jamie advises Millie to be more open, that will speed up the process. She pushes him away from her. As he speaks, he says that God's envy deprived them of their perfect form, but that they now have a chance to fix it. Millie does manage to escape, just as Tim does. They meet near the house, keeping their distance so as not to merge, but even that does not help. Tim does what he should have done long ago, he proposes to the woman he loves. There is only one way to stop the merging, and if they continue to resist stubbornly, they will meet the same fate as Simon and Carrie. Tim therefore decides to sacrifice himself for Millie, but she does not let him and sacrifices herself first. Tim saves her, realizing that he does not want to be free from his beloved, but wants to be with her forever. In the end they decide to accept the inevitable, confess their love to each other and embrace, finally and irrevocably merging into a single being. On Sunday as agreed, Millie's parents arrive to visit her, but instead of their daughter they are met by the combined being of Millie and Tim, which looks like an androgynous human. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel not to miss more exciting new products. Also, the authors will be pleased if you leave your opinion in the comments.